Are you a feminist?
Yes, I am.
Why?
I'm not that much. I think feminism is too strong a word. I think that I'm very concerned about the woman. I feel that for me to be in this position as an artist, I should be able to make meaningful music or do something meaningful for my fellow women.
It's 2011 and the Nigerian music industry is in a weird place, stuck in between the decline of the R&B hip-hop fusion of the late 2010s and the early afropop boom of the early 2010s. Male artists like Dbanj and Timaya dominated the airwaves with songs like Fall in Love and Watta Bambam. The ladies, well, let's just say they were tagging along at this point. Asha was at the head of the pack with songs like Be My Man, while an emerging sensation called Tiwa Savage was preparing for mega stardom. It's safe to say there were many huge songs from the leading ladies of the time, but the bonafide hits were scarce. The industry needed that one song from a lady that would rise to the occasion and challenge the fellas on the charts. Omawumi said, "Hold My Beer," and Drop Troll become arguably the biggest song of the year and also arguably the greatest song by Nigerian acts ever, if you ask me. The song was unlike anything on the video at the time, a perfect blend of afropop, jazz and horn sections that bring the song to life. At this point, Omawumi was already an established vocalist, so her vocal performance on the Kobam's produced track was sure to be a banger. While most songs on the radio explored themes of romance, sexual liberation and party culture, if you ask me, told the necessary story people didn't want to hear about at the time, about abuse and silence. At the time, Omawumi and Clarence Peters had no idea they were about to create one of the most powerful Nigerian music videos ever made, and arguably one of the greatest and most important visual works in African pop culture. This is the anatomy of Omawummi's, if you ask me. Now, to understand the better of this song, I think it's important for us to look at Omawummi's roots. Omawummi first rose to fame after capturing hearts on Idol's West Africa in 2007. She was the first runner-up of the show, just behind another would-be megastar, Timi Dakolo. Her debut album, Wonder Woman, in 2009 gave us hits like In the Music. After her debut, it became obvious to music listeners that Omawummi wasn't just another pop star. There was something soulful about her artistry that just made her stand out. She was the kind of pop star that prioritized vocal delivery and message over every other thing. Even to date, Omawummi is a different kind of celebrity. We rarely see her, but you know her impact is there. After a few years of silence and working in the background, Omawummi released If You Ask Me to instant acclaim. It was the kind of song that made a statement. At the time when most singers were leaning more towards EDM production, Omawummi and Kobams dared to go against the predominant sound on the radio and release a jazz-fused track. At its core, If You Ask Me, it's a song about incest and abuse within a family, narrated by an onlooker who sees it all but can't speak about it. So she turns to us, the audience. The conflicted narrator in this song knows that there is a dark secret lurking in the family, but is anyone going to listen once she starts to speak about it? The singer's stance makes sense when you remember that we live in a culture that often prizes discretion over exposure. The singer wants to say the truth, but she's torn between fear and shame. So she sings, If You Ask Me, now who I go ask, because she doesn't want to be the one to speak about it. And that's the tragedy, the way society demands women to protect family honor over the truth. And this is a plague that haunts many households today. The video exposes a familiar Nigerian contradiction. The same culture that preaches morality often demands silence when those morals are broken by insiders. Omawummi becomes a vessel of collective guilt. She's the auntie who knows, the neighbor who suspects, and the friend who is told but cannot act. By choosing to tell the story from the perspective of a witness rather than a victim, Omawummi makes us complicit. We are all spectators, forced to examine ourselves. What do we do when we know, and who is our silence protecting? In many interviews, Omawummi explained the inspiration behind the song, which was an incident she witnessed. A moment when a daughter openly accused her father of molesting her. The fact that this is a real-life experience makes the song even more important. But that's just the message. What makes this song a hit is Omawummi's tone and delivery. There is no judgmental tone here, because there isn't meant to be. You hear her saying, "The matter we see so, he heavy from out." The use of pidgin English in the lyrics makes the story heartbreakingly honest, like you're eavesdropping on a gossip about a new neighbor. To say Omawummi's vocal delivery in this song was perfect would be an understatement. Her vocal delivery sits in a place between singing and speaking, like she's protecting the listener from the full weight of this despicable tale. On this track, Omawummi displayed her full vocal range, delivering what I think is one of the best delivered bridges in Nigerian music history. What you have in the end is a story that explores child exploitation and the silence that tries to bury the stories. Directed by Clarence Peters, the video to this song has become arguably the most memorable from its era, at least for me. From the opening scene, we are introduced to the singer whose face is half in shadow. Behind her is a white backdrop and an orchestra who have arrived to help her tell the story. The setting for the music video is very simple, but I think that's what makes it work so well. We are then introduced to a mother who is trying to find the person responsible for her child's pregnancy. She visits the main character, the singer, interrogates her on what she knows about the matter. At this point, the narrator begins to tell a short and simple story about a father who abuses his daughter in his wife's absence. The video is reminiscent of the average Nigerian household where everyone knows everyone's business but pretends not to care. But in this case, this business is too dirty to ignore. This father is sleeping with his underage daughter. The very sad truth here, it was this music video that introduced me to the idea of parents being sexually involved with their own children. Before it was released, I had no idea that such ever happened. Then we get to what I think is the saddest shot in the whole music video. This is the face of a family falling apart because of a man's foolishness and inability to control himself. This is when the mother realizes the truth and chases the father away from the home. But the damage has already been done. At some point after the bridge, we see the narrator, the victim and her mother dancing together, which I choose to interpret as them reaching a solution to come together and help the young daughter. This might be a wrong and shallow interpretation, but I choose to stick to it until a better one comes along. At this point, it's obvious that this music video isn't a high-budget production with too many details, but I think this is what helped it to stand out when it was released. Most of the music videos of that period relied heavily on heavy budget production to carry the music, but from this video, I get the sense that the director was more focused on how creatively he could tell the story with a small budget. The costumes are simple, it's cultural and familiar. The only time we see our narrator dressed extravagantly is when she's telling her story with her band. To understand the radical nature of If You Ask Me, you have to examine its place in Nigerian society. Conversations about abuse, especially within families, have long been a taboo. The idea of don't wash your dirty clothes in the public keeps victims voiceless and perpetrators shielded. In 2011, before movements like Me Too gained traction, Omawumi broke the silence using the most accessible medium in Nigeria, music. She turned melody into advocacy, and at the time, she was in partnership with Budget Alert, an NGO known to campaign against gender-based violence. It goes without saying that it's incredibly hard to make a socially conscious song that is both honest and commercially successful. Omawumi and co-bams managed to nail both. In an interview with Pride magazine, she recounted her initial hesitation to record the song because people wondered why she wanted to sing about something as controversial as incest. It was co-bams who encouraged her to follow her heart, and because of its success, she became a leading activist against domestic violence. This video gave birth to a lot of discourse when it first premiered. Most viewers were shocked because they did not expect such a devastatingly honest short film about incest and abuse. I remember listening to my mother and a family friend dissect the video and the relevance of its message. Gradually, it became clear that this was a cultural event unfolding before our eyes. For many Nigerian women, the video was a mirror. It captured the claustrophobia of silence that traps victims and the moral exhaustion of pretending not to know. For many men, it was an indictment. In a nation where mind your business often doubles as moral advice, Omawumi's song Dare to Ask, what if your business is the problem? Overnight, Omawumi became one of the loudest voices of conscience in the Nigerian pop sphere, just like her contemporaries Asha and Nneka. Even now, the song is heavily referenced in conversations about it is proof that great music with a truthful message can never expire. What makes If You Ask Me extraordinary is its subtlety. The video never shows the crime, it doesn't name names or show faces. It leaves space for imagination, and in that space, discomfort grows. In a way, that's how trauma works. It hides in plain sight. Omawumi and her director understood this, and they handled the situation perfectly. That important move rewarded them heavily as the song climbed the charts and became one of the biggest and probably the most memorable song by a Nigerian female act of the century so far. In 2011, she received 2 major awards for the song: Best Female West Africa at the Cora Awards and Best Music Video of the Year at the Nigerian Entertainment Awards. More than a decade later, If You Ask Me still remains fresh, not because of production trends, but because its theme is ever relevant. Nigerian acts like Fowls, Burna Boys and Thames often tackle social issues in their music videos, but before that became fashionable, Omawumi showed it could be done beautifully. She proved that the music video could be both entertainment and enlightenment. In the end, If You Ask Me is the kind of music video that shows how art can carry the burdens we cannot name, and I consider it one of the greatest music videos of all time because it dared to tackle a subject most would rather pretend is non-existent. In a country where silence is often safer than truth, that's the highest form of bravery that art can achieve. If you ask me, now who I go ask? After all these years, we finally know the answer. It's ourselves.